Hello there. Welcome to my show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak. It's December 18, 2020. Only 7 days before Christmas. As you know, seven is a lucky number in United States of America. So lucky seven. Today is December 18th, which is also the World Arabic Language Day. Mahaba. And then you would say mahabtain. So mahaba means, hello. Mahabtain means like double hellos. So you say mahaba to your friend, and then your friend says mahabtain. Yeah, so you know Arabic now. Just, whenever you see an Arabic friend, say mahaba. And, I learned Arabic at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem when I was in Israel. Lived there for 3 years in Israel, over 3 years, researching Jewish identity. But I learned, Arabic with Yael Cohen, who's a professor at Hebrew University of Jerusalem. And the funny thing is, when I was at Georgetown University, I met a girl who was doing her master's in Arabic studies at the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown, who had a 1 year study at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem after graduating from Emory University. And she learned Arabic with Yael Cohen as well before coming to Georgetown. So, yeah, she graduated from Emory University like a year, like 2 years ago. Spent 1 year in Hebrew University of Jerusalem studying Arabic. Oh, actually, she didn't do a year between. It was her junior year abroad. So she did 4 years at Emory University. Junior year abroad, she did at Hebrew University of Jerusalem. So she graduated from Emory 1 year ago. So she was at Hebrew University actually 3 years ago, or 3 years to 2 years ago. It was her junior year, and studied Arabic with Yael Cohen. She graduated from Emory University in 2019 and June, and entered Georgetown University's master's program in Arabic studies in August 2019. As you know, I was vice president of Georgetown University graduate student government from May 2019 to May 2020, 1 year term. And so, yeah, it was good to serve people, who are, who are, who are graduate students. We have over 9,000 graduate students who are graduate students from, you know, uh, Georgetown University School of Foreign Service, School of Public Policy, School of Nursing and Health Studies, Business School, graduate school, in the medical school, that master's and doctoral degrees. Yeah, so at Virginia Hospital Center, I actually met a medical student, third year medical student, doing his rotations at Virginia Hospital Center. And I told them I was your vice president last year, which is true, 2019 to 2020, when he was a sophomore at um, Georgetown University Medical School. Uh, Medical school at Georgetown has their own school-specific student body council, but I mean, graduate student GradGov is the overarching student government for all the schools at Georgetown. So School of Foreign Service has its own student council. School of Nursing and Health Study has its own student council. School of Business has its own student council. School of Public Policy has its own student council, but the overarching university-wide graduate student government, the umbrella governing body is graduate student government, and I was vice president of that. So, he's a third year medical student, MD student at Georgetown Med School. So I told him I'm your vice president. And he kind of moved out of the line for me to go ahead of them for lunch line at Virginia Hospital Center. I'm like, it's just nice of him. I didn't expect him to do that. I'm like, no, please go ahead. Please have your meal first, But he stepped out of the line. I guess kind of showing me like respect and honor. I did serve him for 1 year, as his vice president. So, yeah, it was nice gesture. I thought, But yeah, there are a lot of graduate students. Georgetown University graduates who are graduate from nursing school at Georgetown and Virginia Hospital Center. There are a lot of people who graduate from Georgetown University undergraduate who are at Virginia Hospital Center, working in other capacities, because Georgetown University graduates, some of them go to nursing and others go into like occupational therapy or physical therapy or respiratory therapy or case management. There are Georgetown graduates everywhere in this area. Um, Georgetown University is number one Catholic university in the world academically, and so it's not surprising that wherever you go in this area, Washington D.C., you're going to have graduate students. People who have graduated from Georgetown, either for bachelor's, master's, or doctorate. And there are a lot of medical doctors at Virginia Hospital Center who graduate from Georgetown University Medical School. And some of them who graduated from Georgetown University bachelor's and then did medical school like at George Washington University or, Johns Hopkins University or, University of Virginia or whatever, And so you have a lot of Georgetown University alumni at Virginia Hospital Center. And not just Virginia Hospital Center, but like Innova Fairfax Hospital, Trauma One Hospital in this area, Innova Alexandria Hospital, MedStar Georgetown University Hospital, obviously, and MedStar Washington Hospital Center, Children's National Hospital, Suburban Hospital in Maryland, Sibley Hospital in Washington, D.C., Adventist Hospital in Shady Grove, Maryland, and VA, Veterans Affairs Hospital in Washington, D.C. You're going to have a lot of Georgetown University alumni, from bachelor's program, from the nursing school itself, for medical school, in all industries. So, the fact that I served as the vice president of graduate student government from 2019 May to 2020 May, that's highly significant, for a lot of people who are here. And they've been following all the controversy and stories on the Hoya, which is a student newspaper, and through the grapevine, through gossip, everybody talks. That song, Everybody Talks. So I have not only been their leader, I have become a folk hero. Uh, the bad boy of Georgetown. Imagine that, me being a bad boy of Georgetown. So I'm like a folk hero. Like Robin Hood. You know how Robin Hood is a folk hero, and people saw him as getting in trouble with the law. I don't get in trouble with the law, but like they see Robin Hood as on the other side of the law, and that made him greater hero. People like folk heroes, not to follow the law. And that goes back to Jesus because Jesus constantly broke the law. He was a lawbreaker. So some people say, folk heroes being lawbreakers. That goes back to the Jesus complex. Jesus in the Gospels never respected the law. Like political law, the law of the land. He always broke the law of the land wherever he went. He's a flouted, flaunted his disrespect for politicians, laws of the land. So a lot of the folk heroes that are lawbreakers. Like Robin Hood is a lawbreaker. Batman is like a vigilante, right? He's a lawbreaker. Um, so you know, um, so a lot of the heroes are lawbreakers in folk tradition, and so that's kind of interesting. So, obviously, I'm a very law-abiding person, but if you Google my name, Heerak Christian Kim, you see all the excitement, brouhaha. So some people see me as a bad boy. I don't know how they can see me as a bad boy. I'm such a good boy. But some people see me as a bad boy, and so you know, I become instantaneously glorified as a bad boy folk hero like Robin Hood. So there are a lot of people in this area who are like Generation X, Generation Y, and Generation Z, especially Generation Z, people like in high school now, people who are in college who just like worship me. Yeah, people who are of all different religions, people of all different political backgrounds, people with all different socioeconomic level, rich, poor. They see me as like almost like a demigod. Like their folk hero. So sometimes your enemies help you to become legendary. You know what I mean? Because Robin Hood would not have been such an important figure if there were not Sheriff of Nottingham always trying to persecute him and you know uh, take away his glory or honor. Because Sheriff of Nottingham is always trying to persecute Robin Hood. That helped Robin Hood to become even greater folk hero, even greater in terms of legend, because people identify themselves with more with Robin Hood than with Sheriff of Nottingham. Hey, Merry Christmas, everyone! As President Trump said, you will say Merry Christmas again. I mean, who do you think American people identify with more? 330 million Americans. The one who says, you will say Merry Christmas again? Or people who oppose that? You know what I'm saying? I rest my case. Yeah, so, I become a folk hero of sorts, among young people in Virginia's 8th District, Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County. High school students, they worship me. College student age, they like worship me, in this area, Virginia's 8th District, Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County. And I could not have done it without people who want to destroy me, because you become instantaneously glorified. You become a legend by definition. Your enemies help you to do that. So I'm a nice guy to everybody, but people want to make me into a legendary folk hero. I'm like, hey, fine. You know what I mean? So like here, I'm worshipped by the young people, especially Generation Z. Uh, you know, People in high school, ninth grade to 12th grade, they worship me here in this area, Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County. But I mean, it's not just this area; it's all over the country, all over the world. Uh, you know, a Generation Z, the newest generation who will be here for next 30 years, controlling the world. Hi, Generation Z. So anyway, yeah. So I'm happy to play my role as the leader of the free world, Generation Z. Yeah, freedom of speech. I practice it in this show. I encourage you to practice it as well. And mahaba, mahaba. What are you supposed to say when I say mahaba? Mahabtain. See, this is a multicultural show. I teach you Arabic greetings, and you learn it. You can use it with your Arabic friends. It's global and multicultural. This is like yeah, multicultural show. As I say, I learned Arabic, so I can speak Arabic. درست عربية فصحى في جامعة عبرية في القدس. You know, uh, yeah. So I speak Arabic. I mean, I used to be much better, obviously, and I used to be able to write like postcards and letters in Arabic, and I've done so with my Arabic friends. But yeah, language is one of those things that you have to use. And you know what they say, if you don't use it, you lose it. Yeah, so it's like language is like that. Your body parts are like that. You gotta use it or you will lose it. That's why being active is very good. Um, yeah, it's Christmas time. And a lot of you know Muslims celebrate Jesus as their prophet. one of their prophets. So they have no problem celebrating Christmas. Islam has no problem celebrating Christmas because they see Jesus as a prophet. Yeah, so if you're a Muslim in Virginia's 8th District, yeah, see, Merry Christmas, wear a ugly Christmas sweater, have a Christmas tree, have Christmas lights at home. Yeah, this Christmas celebration is not incompatible with Islam, obviously, because in Islam, Jesus is one of the prophets. And for Hindus in Virginia's 8th District, obviously Hindus consider Jesus one of the gods. It's a polytheistic religion. So Hindus have no problem saying Merry Christmas and having a Christmas tree and having Christmas lights because Jesus is one of the gods in Hinduism. So yeah, I mean, I mean, 99% of the people in America have no problem with like Christmas. So Merry Christmas! Yeah. And there are like 100 different nations represented in Arlington County. And, basically everyone, maybe except for one country, have no problem with Christmas. You know which country you are, which one country you are. you know. Um, yeah. So the Buddhists have no problem celebrating Christmas because Buddhists are just kind of pretty relaxed about those things. So yeah, there's no problem saying Merry Christmas. Everybody likes to celebrate Merry Christmas, sing Christmas songs. Yeah. Yeah, I thought, I'd share some photos of beautiful women from Jesus College, Cambridge. As you know, I'm a permanent member of Jesus College. I lived over 5 years in Cambridge University doing research on Jewish studies. As you know, I'm a global expert on Jewish studies. That's because I do a lot of research on it. And so you can read my published books on Jewish studies by typing my name in Amazon Books, Heerak Christian Kim. Just type it in. You'll see like my books on Jewish studies, which you can read and learn from. And so I was at Jesus College, and one of the things that I liked the best about Jesus College, I have to confess, are the beautiful women. I mean, in my opinion, Jesus College, on average, had the most beautiful women because we had a lot of royalty and nobility in Jesus College. For some reason. And so a lot of these nobility, they're, like nobles like to marry beautiful women, right? And beautiful women like to marry nobles. So obviously their children are going to be beautiful. So it makes a lot of sense that a lot of the students at Jesus College are beautiful because they're like royalty or blue blood, or nobility or royalty. So we have a lot of beautiful people at Jesus. So you can see how beautiful the women are here at Jesus, right? And they're like well polished, educated from good families, billionaires, with titles. The center one, I call her Lady Catherine. She was in medical school, because in England, you go directly into medical school from high school. It's not like an American system where you go to college and then medical school. In most countries around the world, you finish high school and go directly into medical school. It's like that in Korea. It's like that in Germany. It's like that in England. It's like that in Canada too. So yeah. So Lady Catherine, the one in the middle with the sky blue shirt. She was in the medical school. Isn't she pretty? She's like cute as a button. So I call her Lady Catherine. And yeah, you see, women are like all like really attractive, and you see the girl with cat whiskers next to Lady Catherine. I was there at that party and I danced with her. So we had a lot of fun there. Yeah, yeah, I think it was a Halloween party, but one of the Halloween parties. There's several. But I figure like with the COVID-19 shutting down a lot of Christmas parties in Virginia's 8th District, DC area, I thought you would want to see a photo of a lot of beautiful women just to cheer you up, because they're there. Virginia's 8th District has some attractive women, not as much as like Cambridge in England, but there are a lot of attractive women in this area. Um, and I went to Washington D.C. Young Republicans Christmas party last year, and I went to Arlington Falls Church Young Republicans Party Christians Christmas party as well. I went to those two Christmas parties that's related with the Republican Party last year. That's kind of mostly with Generation Y and Generation Z, and that was a lot of fun. I like hanging out with Generation Y and Z. So yeah, so it's it was fun. Unfortunately, this year, this COVID-19 is around, so which is a bummer because there aren't really Christmas parties to go to. Obviously, there are people who are still having Christmas parties, but yeah. But we have 3,154 Americans who've died in the last 24 hours. So the new normal is that we have like over 3,000 deaths every day, and sometimes closer to 4,000. So 3 to 4,000 die every day right now in America. And by Christmas, Christmas is next week. We may have double that, like 6,000. We may even triple. We don't know. We'll see. Right now, it's like stabilizing between 3 to 4,000, but it could always go up. Yeah, let's see what happens. Um, but yeah. Um, so right now, confirmed death in America is 313,588. And the cases are 17,459,296. So only about 5% of Americans are infected by COVID. So majority of Americans, 95% of Americans are not infected by COVID. So we're never going to develop herd immunity, for the next 20, 30 years. So at this rate of infection, you're never going to develop herd immunity. So yeah, so just accept the fact that COVID-19 is here forever. If you remember, Florida had like 10,000 cases in the summer. Now it has 10,000 cases now too. So it's a 365 days a year virus. It can kill in the winter and the summer in states like Florida. So it's never going to go away. It's here forever. So get used to wearing your mask because you have to do that like probably for the next 10, 20 years. Um, and if you don't wear a mask, you probably jeopardize your life. As you know, COVID-19 vaccines, even if they work, they only last for a few months. And this is a 365 days a year virus. So what are you going to do? Take vaccine every 4 months, even if it works? You see what I'm saying? Can you imagine what that's going to do to your body? Are you going to do that for the next 10 years? Like take COVID-19 vaccine every 4 months? That's like 3 times a year for the next 10 years. I mean, can you imagine the damage it's going to to you at the cellular level? Because nobody is saying this COVID-19 vaccine is forever. Everybody's saying it's going to only last like 2, 3 months or maybe 4 months at most. And this is not like just happening in the winter. It's not like flu. Flu is like you have a flu season. It comes and goes and you don't have it anymore. COVID-19, I mean, in June, Florida, Texas, and California had like 10,000 cases per day. So it's not going to go away. You know that, right? I mean, it's never going to go away. So let's say you take the vaccine now in Florida, right? It may protect you what? If it works, and that's highly doubtful. If it works, it'll protect you for December, January, February, maybe March, right? Maybe. And then it's not going to work after that. You have to take another dose if it works, like in April, at the end of the flu season, like April or May, and then that may cover you if it works, and that's a big if. April, May, June, July, maybe, and then after 4 months, you have to take another vaccine. Like if it's a 2 series, you have to take 1 and 2 again, because it's not permanent. So you have to do this like if you it's like being a junkie, vaccine junkie, COVID-19 vaccine junkie, right? It's not like measles vaccine. You have a series and it protects you the rest of your life. Like flu vaccine, you take it once a year, right? Because flu season comes, only in winter, like around winter time. But COVID-19 is a 365 days a year virus. So even if, and that's a big if, this COVID-19 vaccine works, you have to take it like 3 times a year because it's going to only last for like 3 months, right? And you know, in June, you're going to have 10,000 COVID-19 cases again in Florida with like 200 to 400 people dying in the summer as well. You know that's going to happen again. You know that New York has over 10,000 cases now. And April in New York, April 2021 will be far worse than April 2020. History repeats itself. It's going to happen like that. It's going to be going on cycles like for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So what are you going to do? Take the vaccine like 3 times a year for the next 10 years? Can you imagine what that's going to do to your cells at the cellular mRNA, DNA level, protein synthesis level? I mean, can you imagine the damage that's going to do to your cells and your proteins in your body? Uh, that's why I didn't take a vaccine. I rejected the vaccine at Virginia Hospital Center. I was one of the first one to be offered. I could have gotten it on Wednesday or Thursday, yesterday or day before yesterday, like the very first batch, I could have gotten it. And I said, no, I'm not going to take it. Because number one, I don't know if it works. Number two, I don't know if it's harmful or not. People keep saying it's safe, but I'm not going to take their word for it. I want to see the data and the science. And we're only going to know that if we observe people who got vaccine and see what happens to their bodies for the next 2, 3, 4 months, right? We have to observe it. And number three is this reason. COVID-19 is not seasonal. It's 365 days a year, every day of the year, which means, and every single virus expert says these vaccines will last the whole year. It definitely does not last your lifetime. It lasts only a few months at best. Maybe it only lasts a few weeks. They don't even know. So, which means you keep, if the vaccines work and you want the vaccine protection, you have to keep taking the vaccine like a junkie 3 times a year for the next 10, 20, 30 years, however long that COVID's around, even if it works. Do you take an HIV vaccine? Well, there isn't an HIV vaccine, right? So you can't even take it. But you see what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, the problem with COVID-19 is, and Dr. Fauci has said this many times too, there is nothing that can permanently protect you from COVID-19. Any kind of protection, antibodies, any vaccine, they're only going to protect you few weeks, few months. That's it. It's not like COVID-19 is going to go away in June, right? If you take vaccine now in December, it's going to wear off by March or May at the latest. In the best case scenario, then you have to take it again because May you're going to be just as vulnerable. Yes, it's true. More people die in the winter than in the summer, but people do die in the summer too. You see what I'm saying? We had like 1,000 per day death in the summertime last year, so we're definitely going to have at least 1,000 per day death this year summer as well. So you see what I'm saying? This is why I think I made the right decision not taking the vaccine. Because it's kind of like, you almost become a vaccine junkie if you start, So let's say you took the vaccine in December and all the vaccines wear off like March. What are you going to do? Not take the vaccine in April? Because you can still get infected in April, May, and June, July, and August. So what's your strategy? You see what I'm saying? And everybody keeps saying this vaccine is safe. I'm not convinced. It's kind of manipulating your body at the cellular level. How could that be safe? You know what I'm saying? And it's an experimental vaccine. It's an mRNA vaccine. We never had mRNA vaccine. The difference is this: mRNA vaccine manipulates your body to produce protein. Think about it, right? It's kind of like diabetes, right? You have like you take medication to try to produce, have the sugar be absorbed in your body. But COVID-19 vaccine is worse because it actually is prompting to produce like proteins at the cellular level. It's messing around with your body systems, right? How can that be safe? Um, and there has never been an mRNA vaccine before. The kind of vaccine that we have, which are safe, are they give you like a dead version of a virus, like for flu, and then your body recognizes that virus, and so your body just fights it off. There's no manipulation of the proteins. That's why flu vaccine is safe, because they like put like dead virus into you, and your body recognizes it. But the problem with COVID-19 is you can inject somebody with dead virus, COVID-19, it's not going to provide immunity, because those types of vaccines will fail. That's why you have this new experimental mRNA vaccine. This is why I'm saying it's not safe. I don't believe that it's safe. Well, obviously, we're going to be collecting data for the next 4 months. Let's see, right? For the next 4 months, we have two questions to ask. Did people who got COVID-19 vaccine get COVID? That's the first question we have to ask. Number two is, did people who have COVID-19 vaccine develop problems like heart problems or lung problems, or did they suddenly drop dead out of the middle of nowhere? We got to look at this. And if these things happen, obviously I'm right and the vaccine was not safe. I mean, I'm going to keep an open mind, and I hope that I'm wrong, because I hope that this vaccine works, because a lot of people got it, that it doesn't hurt them. I hope it doesn't hurt them. That's what I hope. But I don't know. Let's collect the data. Numbers don't lie. So let's collect the numbers, the data, and see what happens. Look at Jesus College schools. Aren't they pretty? I talked to every single one of them. Because I'm a very sociable person. So they're all attractive, right? I mean, how can you not talk to all these beautiful women? Hi, everyone. um, Yeah, so let's look at, since it's a World Arabic Day, let's look at the cases in the Middle East. So number one is Iran at 1,145,651 cases. It's number one for cases and number one for deaths in the Middle East. They have 73 deaths, dying at 5%. Iraq is number two. Um, and it's 581,811 cases. Death is at 12,670, 2% death rate. So that's number two for cases and deaths. Israel is number three for cases, but not for deaths. 370,152. And the death is at 3,057. They've been pretty good. They've been able to keep the death rate below 1% at 0.8%. And Saudi Arabia is number four. And their cases are 360,690. And their death rate is 2%. So they used to be under 1%, but Saudi Arabia kind of lost control, unfortunately. So they have 6,101 deaths. Jordan is number five with 514 cases, and their death rate is 1% at 3,518. All the Arab countries were doing better than Israel, but they lost control. So that they're all like, not all of them, because these are just top five. There are Arabic countries where they don't have any death per day. But yeah, so the top five Arabic countries or top four Muslim countries are kind of doing worse in terms of percentage of death than Israel. Yeah, so there, today's article, I thought, maybe we should talk about, public figures, because public figures are beginning to die, especially like politicians, people like police officers. We know a lot of police officers got infected, like NYPD, over 1,000 got infected in April, and a lot died, but a lot more are gonna die this year, unfortunately. But a lot of police officers are gonna die. A lot of politicians will die. So let's look at the public figures dying. Um, so public figures dying from COVID-19. First article: Minnesota Senator Jerry Ralph dies of COVID-19 complications. So this article is by Brian Boxt, Christy Marone in NPR News today. Jerry Ralph, a first-term state senator from St. Cloud, died Friday of complications of COVID-19, according to multiple people who have been kept informed of his condition. Republican senators and other caucus staff were informed of his death late Friday, that's today, but a spokeswoman wouldn't confirm it, saying the family has asked for privacy. Ralph's family planned to issue a statement Saturday, that's tomorrow. Sources who requested anonymity said the 76-year-old Ralph's a Vietnamese veteran and attorney who specialized in tax law, recently lost his bid for a second term to DFLer Eric Putnam. So not only did he lose the election, he got COVID and died. How sad is that? It's kind of like David Perdue, senator in Georgia, and Senator Loeffner, who are like in a contested. They should have won that election easy, but they didn't work hard enough. I hope they're working hard enough to win, because can you imagine if they lose and then if they get COVID and die? I mean, geez, that's like tragedy upon tragedy, which can happen. Um, but yeah, it's never good to lose, right? History is about winners. Losers, go down in history as losers. Yeah. Only winners are remembered, really, right? Um, so, um, so the 76-year-old Ralphs, a Vietnam veteran and attorney who specialized in tax law, recently lost his bid for a second term to DFLer Eric Putnam. He was one of several Republican state senators who tested positive for the coronavirus after attending a post-election party. Yeah, how sad, right? I mean, he died young, 76 years. That's fairly young. You could live to like 100. So he probably would have lived to like 100, but he died like 20 years early because of COVID. A lot of old people in their 60s, 70s will die from COVID, although they could have lived to be 100. And that's the tragedy right now of COVID-19. It's taking a lot of old people away 10 to 20 years earlier. Second article, Detroit area sheriff dies of COVID-19 after police chief brother spent months battling virus. So Michael Ruiz from Fox News wrote this article. So the important part of the article says, Benny Napoleon, a Detroit area sheriff who spent decades in Motor City law enforcement and whose police chief brother overcame COVID-19 earlier this year, succumbed to the illness. He was 65. So he probably would have lived to like 85, 95. So he obviously died 20 years early because of COVID, unfortunately. 65 is young. Especially like for a sheriff, you're very active. So, you could probably live till like 95. The Wayne County Sheriff died Thursday night, a month after he was placed on a ventilator, right? So he was on a ventilator for a month and then he died. At Henry Ford Hospital, can you imagine if there was no ventilator, he would have probably died a month before. So when ICU beds fill up, you die. That's why I'm saying like minimum 3 million Americans will die from COVID because um, if you don't have ICUs or hospital beds, I mean, for most people, it's a certain death. But he lucked out. He had an ICU, had a ventilator for a month, but he didn't survive. If you see yesterday's show, I talked about it. In an ICU, I mean, a lot of people die. Even when nurses taking care of only two patients, a lot of people die. But if nurses take care of more than two like they're supposed to in ICU, then obviously you have higher chance of dying. So maybe this nurse who was taking care of him in ICU, maybe she had three patients instead of two. That may be the reason why Benny Napoleon died. Like if the nurse who's taking care of Benny Napoleon only had two patients, then maybe Benny Napoleon would have lived. You see what I mean? This is a real good example of how when you give nurse an extra patient, you're increasing the chance of the patients dying when they could live. You know, that's the sad part. Um, this is real, people. This is happening in Virginia. This is happening in Detroit. This is happening in Minnesota. This is happening in California. This is happening in Maryland and Washington, D.C. You give nurses more patients, they have more chances of dying. I mean, it's unavoidable. So Benny had so much life yet to live. Our community has once again lost someone larger than life to this vicious pandemic. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel tweeted late Thursday night. So tweeting is kind of like publication, right? Like, you know, when you tweet something, you're publishing. So that's protected under the First Amendment rights. Um, so, you know, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of expression, freedom of press, right? So when you tweet, it's protected under the First Amendment. Um, so because that's how you communicate, right? You publish your information. Um, so so when you tweet, it's like publishing in the modern sense of the term. My heart goes out to Benny's family. It was an honor and a privilege to call him my sheriff. He died way too young, but that's what COVID does to you. So the problem you're facing is, you know, this is Christmas time. If you don't go see your mom and dad, they're like 65. They could die from COVID, and you're gonna regret the rest of your life not seeing them for Christmas, not having Christmas dinner with them, right? Because it's not like if you don't go and see them, they're gonna live through the winter season. Because we have like December, January, February, March, April, May, June. We have like 7 months to go of this like wintry flu-like season. Well, probably until like April or May, but yeah, like 6 months. It's not like just because you don't go see them that they're not going to get COVID. Because you can get COVID shopping in a grocery store, like, you know, going to Ralph's or Giant, Food Giant, or like Food Lion. You know, you can go anywhere, you can get it where there are people. So let's say you don't celebrate Christmas dinner with your 65-year-old mom and dad, and then they die of COVID like in January. You know, the problem is, will you be able to forgive yourself, or will you be okay uh, that you didn't celebrate Christmas dinner with them? You know, so that's a question that every one of you have to answer yourself. You may be okay, then that's fine. But for some of you, you may not be okay. You know, so you know you have to decide that on your own. It's going to be different for everybody. You know, people are not like machines. You know, there's a people element, and you know, people take risks because sometimes benefit of taking the risk outweighs um, the cost of taking the risk, right? Because your parents can die, your 65-year-old parents can die in January or February from COVID that they got when they went to grocery store to buy food. Um, but whether you see them on Christmas or not. So, you know, that's something that you have to think about, right? Are you going to be okay if you don't go home for Christmas in December and then your parents end up dying from COVID that they contract from, let's say, from grocery store in January or February? Are you going to be okay with that? So that's why a lot of Americans, millions of Americans, are going to be celebrating Christmas with their loved ones because they feel like the benefit of the risk outweighs the cost or the risk. that they take, right? The benefit outweighs the potential cost. So you have to decide. Obviously, if you're going to have a family Christmas dinner, I would encourage you to wear a mask when you're just talking, and then when you're eating, have one of those plastic, partitions, so that you eat and then you kind of speak at the plastic partition in front of you. So and then whoever is sitting in front of you speaks at the plastic partition in front of her. Um, you see what I mean? So yeah, I mean, just take precautions. If you don't feel comfortable celebrating, you shouldn't. But obviously, if your mom and dad are like, please come and celebrate Christmas, I mean, they know the risk of COVID. They want to see you. Can you really say no? You see what I'm saying? Because maybe for them, they're like, I may die from this COVID by January, and I want to see my son or my daughter for the last time in Christmas. If I do die, I'll die happy if we have Christmas dinner together. So you have to kind of weigh the odds, right? Obviously, you don't want to give COVID to your parents, but if you don't have COVID, you can't really give it to your parents, right? Obviously, even if you got tested yesterday, today you may have COVID, right? So there's that risk, and it may be asymptomatic, or you may get a false negative and you actually have COVID, but the test said you don't have it. So you could accidentally give to your parents, or you may have COVID particles in your clothing or objects. And then when your parents hug you, maybe they get infected indirectly through the COVID in your clothing, because experts say COVID can live on surfaces for days. So these are all possibilities, obviously. But if your mom and dad says, come home for Christmas, and they're really serious about it, and they, for some of them, it's their dying wish before they die. Can you deny them that? You know what I'm saying? So it's not an easy thing for many Americans, uh, because it's not like people don't know the risk. People know the risk. But the problem is, you know, uh, some people have died since Thanksgiving. Obviously, there are over 3,000 dying every day. Um, so those people who saw their parents in Thanksgiving dinner are happy that they did that, because their parents died after Thanksgiving, so they got to spend Thanksgiving with them. You see what I'm saying? So, and you can't say it was a Thanksgiving dinner that killed them. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Um, you see what I'm saying? It's because people are people, and people do all kinds of things to see their loved ones. They risk death. Throughout history, people have risked death for their loved ones, and so um, there's a human element, right? We are not robots. So that's why it's difficult, you know. Um, and to be honest here, only 5% of America's infected right now, about 17 million. We're a country of 330 million. So like 95% of our country have not been infected by COVID. So there are many areas in America where there's no COVID. Like there are people, Americans, who don't know anybody personally who got COVID in certain parts of America. Obviously, because only 5% of Americans got infected, 95% did not get infected. So, as long as there's nobody who has COVID in your town, technically you don't even have to wear a mask, right? Like if your town, there's nobody who has COVID, you don't have to wear a mask in that town, because no one has COVID. No one can give it to COVID. No one can get COVID because no one in the whole town, 100% of the people in the town, has COVID. The problem with America is a lot of Americans got introduced to COVID because colleges open. Because there are a lot of colleges in rural America, in countryside, in boondock areas, like Virginia Tech is like out in nowhere. Because these colleges open, students go from all over the country, all over the world even. They bring COVID. So in towns there were where there were no COVID, college students brought COVID. So now there is COVID. So that everyone in that town has to wear a mask. Because if you have like one or two people who have COVID, everybody has to wear a mask when you're socializing because you don't know who gave COVID to who. But theoretically, if colleges did not open and they were 100% remote, we would have many, many towns in America where there'll be zero COVID right now. And that's why I called for colleges to close because I anticipated this, because it's a person to person virus. Unfortunately, governors did not listen to me and they allowed the colleges to open. So now COVID has spread to a lot of different areas. So although 5% of America is infected, a lot of areas have COVID. But there still are towns and villages and small cities where you may have zero COVID. Um, so in those areas, technically you do not have to wear a mask at all. You can just eat Christmas dinner like normal people without a mask. As long as there's no COVID in the town. Now the problem is, even in towns where there are zero COVID, there are truckers coming in with supplies who may bring COVID. So you just don't know. That's the problem right now, right? Because there are outsiders coming in, supplying the city with food, maybe taking trash out of the town. So there's interaction, and you don't know who has COVID who are coming in, outsiders coming in, to do whatever. Um, yeah, so that's a problem. Um, yeah, but a lot of public figures are getting COVID, and some are beginning to die. We probably will have a senator, U.S. senator who dies. We'll probably have U.S. House of Representative members who die. We're gonna have a lot of people who die from COVID. State senators, state House members, legislators. So that's all coming. So third article, Suffolk sheriff investigator dies from COVID-19 complications. And that's News 12. This is in New York State. So significant quote is New York 12, Long Island has learned that the Suffolk County Sheriff's Office has uh, lost one of their own. Investigator Sergeant Keith Allison has died from COVID-19 complications. Allison celebrated 25 years at the sheriff's office this past February and was promoted to his current title in 2018. Keith is survived by his wife, Brenda, and his two children. Isn't that sad? His wife is a widow. He's, you know, COVID-19 takes a lot of people. Like, there's no reason why this investigator would have died if there were no COVID, right? So this is story of every American. We're going to have a lot of Americans die, making their wife a widow. And that's for the next 6 months, right? You have December, January, February, March, April, May, June. That's all coming. It's really sad, what's going to happen in the next 6 months in America, because it's coming. Right now, it's 3,000 to 4,000 deaths per day. That's going to double to like 6,000 to 8,000 deaths per day sometime in the near future. I'm thinking even possibly before Christmas. Um, a lot of people are going to die. Hospitals are full in many states, many cities, many counties. So they have nowhere to go, so they'll die at home. People who would not have died had there been hospital beds with nurses, right? And you can't overstretch your nurses because you have people who in ICU who could have lived who would definitely die because you gave nurses too many patients or extra patients. And that's a tragedy, right? I mean, it's a lose-lose situation right now. You cannot just expand beds in a hospital because that doesn't solve the problem because you cannot create new nurses from thin air. Um, so, I'm predicting that 3 million to 30 million Americans will die by June 2021. And I think I'm being, pretty conservative in my estimate. I think it could be much larger than that. because you have so many months, and once hospitals are full, 100% of the people can die. So we have December, January, February, March, April, June. You know what? So we have a lot of people who can die. I'm predicting that out of the clinical nurse leader classmates that I graduated with in August 24, 2020, although our program finished much earlier than that, like August 6th or something. Um, the graduation date at Georgetown was August 24th because, we have a lot of schools, right? Nursing school, medical school, school of foreign policy, we have graduate school, we have business school. So, so that's why the graduation date is several weeks after our end of classes or our program, which was like August 6th. Something like August 6th or August 5th, August 7th. But anyway, yeah, so I'm thinking like at least 20% will die from my cohort if all 25 of us are working at the hospital right now. Some I think may opt to sit out because they don't want to die. I'm happy to serve you in Virginia State District or anybody. If there are patients who come from Maryland, DC, I took care of patients who came from Fredericksburg. I had patients who came from Delaware, Pennsylvania. So I had patients from different at Virginia Hospital Center. I had patients, who were transported from different states or within Virginia. And obviously the tri-state area, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, we have a lot of patients from these three areas. So, so I may be taking care of you, if you come to Virginia Hospital Center. I've admitted patients directly from the emergency room, with different kind of conditions. And so if you come to Virginia Hospital Center emergency room, I may be the one who will be admitting you into the units. Once you come to the emergency room, they will send you to me, and then I will do the admissions for you. So some of you may be admitted by me. Obviously, I would not want you to get hurt and come to Virginia Hospital Center. I wouldn't want that at all, obviously. Um, but if you do get injured for whatever reason, if you come to Virginia Hospital Center, I could take care of you. And obviously, if you feel like there's you have problem breathing, your chest is hurting, you should definitely come to Virginia Hospital Center emergency room because you don't want to be playing around with that. If you get a heart attack, you die. So if you have chest pain or you gotta come to the hospital. Um, but anyway, I hope this show is helping you kind of understand what's going on now, and will help you to make informed decisions. As I said, you make your decisions and you got to live with it, right? Um, in a sense, you make your own luck. You make your good luck, but you also make your bad luck. And so, some things are beyond your control, but most of the things, are within your control. The decisions you make dictate the outcome. You see what I'm saying? I want to do a cheer for my, alumni from Masters in Clinical Nurse Theater. It was a 2-year intensive program at Georgetown, basically 365 days a year program for 2 years. And we started out with like 34, and we lost like nine or 10, and we graduated 20, like 25, 2 years later. Um, and like out of 25, I'm predicting 20% will die, like 5 will die. So I want to do a cheer because, in a sense, we're in this together, in the sense that we're in this together heading into potential death. So I will say CNL 2020, yay, Georgetown University. We did it. We graduated from Georgetown University. And some of us may die from COVID-19, but we can say we graduated from Georgetown, yay! So yeah, so basically, Christmas is coming, and you gotta celebrate Christmas and moments of happiness that you can, right? Because what do you have in this life? You have your loved ones, right? And moments like Christmas are significant, right? And that's what makes us humans because animals, they don't distinguish one day from another, right? Animals, they treat every day alike. But human beings, we celebrate birthdays, we celebrate Christmas, we celebrate Thanksgiving. We have these special events and holidays where we celebrate, right? And that's what makes us human. And sometimes these celebrations um, can be risky, obviously. Let's say, for whatever reason, there are always risks to celebrating or gathering. Even when there is no COVID, there are things that you have to, times you have to adjust or, risks that you have to take, to be with your loved ones. And so Christmas is a special day. And I mean, it makes sense, and it's totally understandable if you take the risk and celebrate Christmas with your family. Because let's be honest here, if your father and mother's over 65, and if they buy their own food every week or every other week or every month, or they pick up food from restaurants, I mean, these are opportunities where they can get infected with COVID and they could die from it. So your parents can die like in January or February. So it makes sense that you may want to celebrate Christmas with your parents. If your parents are like 65, it makes sense because for you, the benefits of celebrating Christmas with your parents when they're alive outweighs the cost or potential cost, that exists. So it makes sense. You know, um, in a sense, we consider like our parents as like gift from God, right? Or our children as gift from God. Um, and in a sense, you see Santa Claus coming with your gift with your children, and they are truly your gift. I mean, your children make your life worthwhile. Love of your parents energizes you and keeps you going, and love makes this world go around, right? And sometimes, when you love someone, you risk death. Sometimes when you love someone, you risk a lot for them. And that's what love is, right? Love is giving. It's not just a feeling, right? It's an action of giving. So I mean, I think it's totally understandable, and I think it's totally natural and normal if you buy a plane ticket to go home for Christmas to celebrate Christmas with your family. But I would say, just make sure you take the precautions. Like, when you come back from the plane, take 14-day quarantine uh, before going back to work. I think that's not too much to ask. Take the PTO, make arrangements to do that, just to be safe. But so if you are going to celebrate Christmas with your 65-year-old or parents who may die from COVID this Christmas season or winter season, because anybody can get infected from COVID and die. Just take the precautions, not for yourself, but also when you come back home, come back home from visiting your parents in another state. You want to protect your coworkers at your workplace. So, take the PTO, take like, 14 days off, yeah. So, just be smart about it. Not everybody have the luxury to do that, unfortunately, but, and, human life is a funny thing. People take risks, right? And you cannot control every single thing, and so that is a sad thing. But yeah, but Christmas is coming, and you have to make your own decision for your life. You're not a slave. Uh, you know what's important to you. You have to think about what you're going to regret if you do or if you don't, and then you have to make your own decision. Um, but yeah, but if you're in a town with no COVID, you're lucky. You're lucky as a clam because you could just you're happy as a clam because you could just kind of have Christmas dinner without any mask. Nobody in your town has COVID, right? Yeah, if there's zero people in your town with COVID, zero people can give it to you. You can't get it. You know what I mean? So if you live in this area, more power to you. I give you my five, for living in a town with no COVID. Because there are towns like that in America. Because only 5% of America is infected with COVID. 95% are not infected with COVID. So that's a big majority. Yeah. And yeah, I'm happy to provide you information that saves you and saves your children's lives, and your parents' lives and your loved ones' lives. So tune in tomorrow. I'll bring you more information that can help you and save you and your family from COVID-19 death. You don't know when COVID-19 death will come like a red reindeer, you know, out of nowhere, just like pop in, and take your life away. Um, so yeah, you want to be informed. Being informed is important, and this show helps you get informed. So yeah, keep informing yourself so you can make informed decisions. And I'm happy to help you become informed through this show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak. Yeah, so tune in tomorrow to get the information you need to survive this COVID, um, so that you don't get blindsided, you know, uh, struck from the back, or stabbed from the behind, Yeah, so I got your six. Is it I got your six or I got your nine? I forgot, There's a phrase like I got your back. It's either six or nine. I'm not sure which number it was. But I got your six or I got your nine. I don't know. I forgot it's on a TV show. But tune in again tomorrow for COVID-19 update by Hirak show, and then you will be informed, and then you make the decisions yourself. I mean, you're not a slave, so you make your own decisions. But I will provide you with the information you need to survive COVID-19, and to help your children and loved ones survive COVID-19. So I hope that your family will be well, that you will be well, and that your children will be well. And I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye.